Thanks for joining us tonight. A traffic stop in Arkansas leads to the arrest of a double homicide suspect from Green Bay.
Detectives went to Arkansas to question the 48-year-old man after two women were found dead inside a duplex on the city's east side yesterday. Investigators still on the scene this morning, more than 24 hours after being dispatched to the 1600 block of LK Lane.
Brittany Schmidt joins us now in the newsroom with a first alert update from police. Brittany.
Bill and Cammie, police did not identify the suspect now in custody, but they tell us the arrest happened without incident just 4 hours after their investigation began Sunday at about 11:15 a.m. Intel gathered quickly at the scene led police on an out-of-state manhunt. Arkansas police helped Green Bay find the suspect and take him into custody. Authorities are now talking to him about the double homicide investigation. The victims are identified as a 58-year-old Green Bay woman and a 53-year-old Bellevue woman. Based on a preliminary timeline, authorities believe they were killed late Saturday evening or early Sunday morning.
As far as I know about the victims, I know that they were friends. They were known to each other. The suspect in this case was known to at least one, if not both. We're still looking at confirming that, so anything more than that would be speculation.
The Brown County District Attorney's Office is working to extradite him back here to face charges, which is likely to happen in the next day or two. Cammie, Bell.